Hi guys, how's it going? Hope you're well. As you've probably noticed from the title of this video, I'm going to be doing a comparison between the GoPro Max and the Insta360 One R. These are the two premium 360 cameras out right now. So if you are trying to choose between the GoPro Max and the One R, this is the video to watch. I'm going to go through everything you need to know, and hopefully by the end you'll be able to make a decision that is best for you. So let's just cut through all of the bullshit and get straight to it, shall we? Let's go through the specs of these cameras very quickly. Let's start with the GoPro Max. The GoPro Max has a maximum video resolution of 5.6K at 30 frames per second in the 360 mode. You can also shoot in what's known as Hero mode, which uses just one of these lenses to shoot like a GoPro Hero camera. So that's just normal video that you would get from a GoPro Hero. However, the resolution of that video is limited to 1440p at either 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. It can shoot 16 megapixel 360 photos, and it can also shoot panoramas in one shot. The camera is waterproof up to 5 meters and also features a shockproof body so it can survive a few bumps and scrapes. It features video modes including time-lapse and time warp. Now, time warp is kind of a moving time-lapse that's stabilized. It can shoot this kind of video either in the Hero mode or in the 360 mode, and it actually looks pretty awesome. Now, the Insta360 One R has a maximum video resolution of 5.7K shooting in 360 mode. However, unlike the GoPro Max, the One R is a modular camera, so you can literally take it apart. You can take out this 360 lens that's in there right now and attach this 4K wide angle lens, which is like a normal action camera, again like a GoPro Hero, turns this camera from a 360 camera into kind of a normal action camera. Now, the maximum video resolution of this module is 4K. Essentially, you have the option of shooting 360 video at 30, 60, 100, 120 frames per second, or 4K normal video at various other frame rates as well, all the way down to 1080p at 240 frames per second, so that is essentially super slow motion. The One R can shoot 360 photos at 18 megapixels. This camera is also waterproof up to 5 meters without any extra case. Video modes in this camera include HDR video, time-lapse, time shift, which is similar to time warp that we talked about in the GoPro Max. So that's the hardware specs of these cameras. I didn't want to go into too much detail because, to be honest, I don't think it matters that much. What matters is what comes out of the camera when you use it. So let's take a look at some video right now with both of these cameras. I'm going to show you footage shot with one camera and then shot with the other right after. It will clearly be labeled so you'll know exactly which camera is shooting what video, and I'll do some side-by-side comparisons as well so you can clearly see the difference. Now, if we just look at the video that I'm showing you right here, I think you'll agree that it is quite a significant difference. The GoPro Max shooting much more highly saturated, colorful, and I think better dynamic range. I personally am preferring the footage coming out of the GoPro Max here. Not to say that the One R is doing a particularly bad job. It has a very, very slightly higher resolution, but it won't be noticeable. Both cameras have decent resolution, decent amount of pixels, so that images do look fairly sharp. But the difference here is mostly to do with light and color. This is where GoPro does have an advantage because they are well known for their color technology. And as you can see, this is making a difference. Whether it's a big enough difference to, sway you one way or another, that's up to you. It's also important to point out that you can color correct the Insta360 One R's video in the app, or using a program like Premiere Pro. If you have access to that, you could definitely add more color, more saturation, and pretty much get a similar effect to what you're getting in the Max. All the video that I'm shooting here, I'm showing you straight out of the camera. I've not done any editing. I think that is the fairest way to show you guys. I will also point out that the One R does have HDR video, which you can only use when the video is still, so when the camera is not moving. That does make a slight difference, as you can see here. I don't think it's absolutely huge. There is also a mode called Color Plus, which you apply after you have rendered your video or during the stitching process, which again adds some more color and some more saturation to your video. Now, both cameras can shoot in the H.264 or H.265 codec. That does make a bit of difference. I always tend to shoot, or at least render it, in H.265 because not only is it more compressed, the file sizes are not as big, it works better in Premiere Pro, and it does give slightly better quality as far as I can tell. If we take a look at some low light video shot with both of these cameras, there isn't a huge amount of difference. I do think the Insta360 One R does a good job here, certainly in the darker areas, keeping them pretty dark, not too much noise. I think, again, the GoPro Max offering slightly more color, slightly more saturation, definitely working better in the colorful areas. There isn't a huge difference here for me, guys. It's going to be up to you to depend what you prefer here. Neither camera is going to work extremely well in low light situations because at the end of the day, they both use fairly small sensors in their lenses. So another thing to consider is the bitrate of these videos. The Insta360 One R can shoot up to 100 megabits per second, and the GoPro Max is not far off at, I think, around about 80 megabits per second. You're not going to really see a huge difference in terms of quality between those two. I think 180, especially if you're uploading to YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, they cut down on that massively anyway. Perhaps in a VR headset, if that's what you were going to use for, you might notice the difference. Now, we're just talking about the 360 video here specifically. I don't know what you guys think, but for me, straight out of the camera, the GoPro Max does offer better video. I think it is because of the color technology they use. Again, I will point out that the One R is not doing a bad job here. I think it's pretty much the second best 360 camera for the video quality that I've ever used. It's certainly a big improvement on the last Insta360 One X, which really did struggle in low light. The One R has massively improved its low light performance. Yeah, and this is also just still video right now. It's not really moving that much, so we'll have a look at some moving video later. So up to now, I've been showing you 360 video shot with both of these cameras, but they are both basically two cameras in one. They both have the ability to shoot normal video, linear video, as well as 360 video. So let's take a look at the linear video shot with both of these cameras. So that for the GoPro Max is its hero mode using just one of these lenses, and for the Insta360 One R, that is using its 4K module here. Now, I will also point out that the Insta360 One R has a 1-inch module available, so that's a 1-inch version basically of this. It's a linear lens, however, it has a 1-inch sensor which allows it to shoot much high quality video, especially in low light. I'm not testing that today. I'm just testing the 4K module, mostly because A, I do not have the 1-inch module yet, and B, I think it's pretty expensive, and I think most people are probably not going to be able to get that straight away. So I'm testing in low light situation here. This is a pretty difficult situation for both cameras. I do believe that the 4K module in the One R is doing a better job. It's certainly higher resolution. It's much higher resolution than the 1440p out of the GoPro Max. The GoPro Max is a lot less sharp, a bit stuttery. The resolution, obviously not enough to keep the details as sharp as possible, but the One R doing a lot better with its 4K. So for me, overall, the One R doing a better job here with this 4K lens, certainly as good as most other 4K action cameras out right now. If we take a look at this indoor shot, obviously this is moving video indoors in fairly low light, or at least artificial light situations. For both cameras, don't really do an amazing job here, to be honest, guys. They're both kind of stuttery. You can see the artificial lights kind of vibrating, shaking a bit. It's not the best quality video, but I do think the One R does a better job in the end of, one, stabilizing the video, and two, keeping it as sharp as possible. The 4K lens is always going to result in sharper video than a 1440p lens. I will say that the GoPro Max, even in this hero mode, is offering better color, better saturation, better dynamic range. So again, this 4K lens doesn't really improve upon that. I mean, I've been testing these side by side in fairly difficult conditions. I thought that was the best way to see how well they did. But in daylight, in sunlight, you know, outside on a good day, they both perform pretty well. And especially the 4K module of the One R does a really good job of shooting high quality video in the right lighting conditions. You are going to be able to get good quality video out of the 4K lens, but you do have to kind of take the camera apart to get that. Whereas with the GoPro Max, you literally have to press one button to switch between 360 and non-360 videos. Let's have a listen to an audio test shot with both of these cameras. The audio from the GoPro Max, 6 microphones. The audio with the One R, just 2. Let's have a listen to the difference between them.
It's only fair we do the audio comparison, so yeah.
Yes, I'm testing the audio for both these cameras, the GoPro Max and the Insta360 One R.
I'm gonna guess that the Max has probably got better audio because it has
6 microphones and the One R does not. So
we shall see, but this is, yeah, I guess an audio comparison.
So there we go. What do you think? I was actually pleasantly surprised with how decent the One R's audio was, but I do think those 6 microphones offering slightly better audio overall. I mentioned before that essentially both of these cameras are action cameras, and now a lot of the video that I've shown you have been pretty still or just walking, not really moving that much. So yeah, you could say I haven't really tested it to its maximum capability. I do not do much kind of action stuff. I do not go skateboarding, skiing, skydiving, all that kind of stuff. I'm more of a let's walk around and shoot this cool city kind of guy. Basically, guys, both of these cameras work almost exactly as well as each other when it comes to stabilizing video. They both manage to stabilize video almost perfectly. Now, I have tested both of these cameras side by side just by walking and running, which is actually a pretty good test of stabilization, as you can imagine. It's actually harder to stabilize that kind of video than when you're on skis, because that's pretty smooth. It's not absolutely perfect. You will notice some stuttering, but compared to any other kind of camera, a 360 camera is going to smash it out of the park compared to what they can do. Yeah, either one is going to handle pretty much anything you throw at it really well. So while these are both video cameras, I do want to point out that they can both shoot 360 photos as well, which some people are interested in, some people not so much. Do not consider them professional cameras because they're not. Do not consider them good enough for virtual tours because they're not really, but you can get some decent quality out of them. The One R is certainly at a massive advantage when it comes to photos. Not only can it shoot higher resolution photos, it can shoot HDR photos automatically, and it can also shoot DNG RAW photos, which is a massive improvement on anything that the GoPro Max can do. The Max can only shoot JPEG photos at 16 megapixels, yep, that's right, 16 megapixels, and that's pretty much the only mode it has. It can also shoot time-lapse with photos, but I think that's about it. The One R's photos I do think look better, especially if you use the HDR mode or you have access to Lightroom and Photoshop to change or edit your DNG RAW photos. You can get a very good quality images out of this camera. You can also shoot photos with the 4K lens and the Hero mode. Obviously, the 4K lens is gonna produce better quality photos. There's not really much point in discussing why. It's fairly obvious. Yeah, just take my word for it. This is going to be better at shooting photos, but why would you? It's not going to, your phone's going to do a better job than shooting photos with this, so I wouldn't really suggest buying it for that purpose. I want to quickly talk about the design of these cameras and I guess how they are used on a day-to-day basis or how user-friendly they are, because I do think there is quite a big difference here and there is some things to consider on both sides. So let's start with the One R. Now, I do think the modular design of this camera is a good thing. It allows it to be very adaptive. You'll be able to buy new things in the future, increase functionality. It's the only camera that can shoot 360 video and 4K using this kind of setup. However, it can be a bit annoying to change between each lens, when you want to change. You have to take this bracket off, you have to unplug all of the stuff, you end up with, 5 different things in your hand at the same time. You then have to get your other lens, like now I've got this. At the moment I've got all of this in my hand, now I have to get this, plug it in, somehow put the battery in, put it all back in here. Do you get what I'm saying? It can be a bit of a mess, it's not super smooth, user-friendly, especially if you want to change quickly. There is no way to quickly change between these lenses. It's going to take you a minute or two. No matter what anyone says, I don't care who they are, I don't care what they're telling you, I don't care if they have honest review in their title. If they're not saying that this is a little bit annoying, they're lying, because it is. At the end of the day, I think it's worth it to be able to shoot with these 2 lenses and get as high quality video as possible. For some people, maybe they're not into that. Maybe they just want something that is very quick and easy to use. That's not this, so just bear that in mind. On the other hand, the GoPro Max, much easier to use. Obviously, you have those options for shooting in Hero mode and 360 mode. You literally just have to press one button and that's it. You can switch. And I will also mention that both of these cameras have touch screens, like I have mentioned before. The GoPro Max's touch screen is much more responsive and larger, so therefore much easier to use. The One R screen is much smaller, as you can see, much smaller. And for some reason, it's just not as touch responsive. Do have to kind of touch it a few times for it to realize what I'm trying to make it do. So yeah, again, on the user-friendly side, the One R -1 point for that. Now a final thing I want to talk about is the software you get with both of these cameras, because they're actually fairly evenly matched. For a change, the software in a 360 camera is actually pretty good. Essentially, both companies have heavily invested in their mobile software specifically, and they've made it super easy to take 360 video, put it into your phone, and churn out some awesome looking videos. So that's taking your 360 video and turning it into a normal video, but allowing you to choose where to look after you've shot the video, choosing where the camera points, creating all kinds of effects that is only possible when you use 360 cameras. And both of these cameras have software that allows you to do that super easily and in a very user-friendly way. So let's look at the GoPro app first. I've done a whole video on this app, a guide, and just to show you how to use it and what's available. So you can go and have a look at that video. It will be linked below if you want to see a full guide to the app, because I don't want to make this video super long and too complicated, but I will just go through the main points. Essentially, the app allows you to very quickly change your 360 video into this reframed linear video. You can add super smooth transitions, you can add music, you can color correct your video, you can combine the 360 video and the hero footage, so the linear video, into one. You can add text, you can add music, you can essentially do everything that you would previously need a desktop software to do on your app, on your phone. So while you may think that editing on a phone is just too complicated, just too, the screen isn't big enough, you need a mouse, you need, you need all this kind of desktop software. For me, I've actually found it really easy. Take my word for it. It's still not obviously as advanced as you get with desktop software, but it's really not that far off. It's very stable, it's not once crashed on me, it's very quick to render video compared to many other cameras, and the video comes out looking really good. There are some issues. I think there are some functionalities missing. For example, if you wanted that 360 video, for a VR headset, unfortunately right now you can't just get your 360 video onto your phone. You need to use desktop software. That's something that's missing from that app. The app can also automatically create videos for you using music as a template. So it has music available on the app, and it will take the video that you have shot and it will create a video based on the music, so based on the beats. So you can choose the parameters, you can choose the music, and you can choose how long you want the video to be and what clips you want to use, and the app will automatically create a video from that. It means you don't have to spend hours working on one thing. It will automatically do that for you. Doesn't work every single time, but it is something that can really cut down on your video editing time. So the GoPro Max app, for me, is one of its best features, if not its best feature. So yeah, definitely check out that video if you're interested in that. As for the Insta360 One R, it is very similar in terms of functionality. However, it does have some slightly more advanced features, I will say. It has that same kind of reframing center, allows you to do pretty much the same thing, achieve pretty much the same effects. However, there are very many more built-in effects into the app, which you can literally just press one button and it will create those effects for you. But the app does tell you exactly how you should shoot, what you need to do, how many clips you need, and it will create those effects for you. The app also has an AI editing feature, which takes your clips and automatically creates some video for you, depending on different themes, depending on different music. And that is, again, a powerful feature. Takes quite a while for it to load. I will say this is definitely a slower app. It definitely needs a very powerful phone for you to use it. At least the last two generations of phones, you're going to need one of those. But when it does work, and once it's done, it can really create some awesome footage without you even really touching it. So for me, lots of features in the One R app. Definitely more features in the One R app than the Max app. And a very good feature that the One R app has that the Max app doesn't is a tracking feature, which allows you to lock onto a specific person or object and track it in the video. So again, in the 360 space, it will be able to track it anywhere. It works really well. I'm surprised with how well it works. That is not something that's available in the Max app. So if you wanted to track someone skiing, skateboarding, even just walking, even walking your dog, this app will allow you to do that, and it works really well. So I do have, again, another video that talks all about the One R app. I don't really want to go into the minutiae of every detail of the app here because, again, this video would be an hour long. So yeah, go check that video out if you're interested in the One R app. Now, while the apps for both of these cameras are really good, there is some difference in the desktop software, which I do have to mention because many people do prefer to use desktop software. For the One R, it uses the Insta360 Studio, which is a free desktop software which allows you to stitch your video together in the highest quality possible, allows you to apply some different effects, and allows you to do some of those reframing features that we talked about before. It doesn't have all the same options as the mobile app, but it does have a few, so it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you want to get the maximum quality out of your video. So it works well, it does the job. However, when you do render out your video, it takes a very long time. So for example, a 2-minute video shot in H.265 format, the codec, and rendered at say 70 or 60 megabits per second, can take a good like half an hour to stitch and finish. And I have a pretty powerful laptop, so that's quite a long time. Imagine shooting a 10 or 20-minute video. Now, the GoPro Max has 2 desktop software apps available. It has something similar to the Insta360 Studio, which allows you to edit your video, reframe it, and use some of those effects that it found in the app. And it has a program that stitches your video together in, again, the highest quality possible, turning the video out of the camera into a usable 360 video. Unfortunately, the editing app, the main thing that everyone wants to use, is not available for Windows yet. And it's been like 4 months and it's still not available. Apparently it is coming, but we don't know when. That is a massive downer for me. It is a big issue and I'm not sure why it's taking so long. However, the stitching and the rendering app that is available, that obviously, like I said, stitches and renders the video, is very good. It works really, really quickly. I mean, compared to the One R, it literally takes, I guess, a third of the time to stitch the video together. So at least that works well. However, some options on that aren't available for Windows yet, so I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they hate Windows. So guys, I think that's it. I don't want to make this video too much longer because it's already pretty long and I don't want to overload you with information. I mean, a few more points. I would say that they both have voice control. They both have the ability to have that invisible selfie stick effect. However, you need to make sure that they are perfectly aligned. So you need to make sure the invisible selfie stick comes right down here because they can both move. They both have these GoPro-like mounts, which obviously the camera can be moving about. So make sure that the selfie stick is perfectly, perpendicular? Yeah, is that a word? To the camera, so perfectly in between the 2 camera lenses. They are both reasonably thick compared to some other cameras, so stitching quality is going to be affected. I definitely noticed some more stitching lines compared to the One X, which is a much smaller, thinner camera, so make sure you do not get too close to the lenses or you will notice those stitching lines. The battery life on both cameras are fairly similar. I do think the One R has a slightly better battery life, and I'm pretty sure the GoPro Max drains the battery even when it's turned off. I tried to shoot some video yesterday knowing that I had at least 30% battery last time I used it the day before. I turned it on and it had 9%, and then it only lasted literally 15 seconds and turned off. So guys, I guess that's it. That's both of these cameras. What do you think? I've tried to give you as much information as possible about these cameras. I know you've probably seen many other videos about them. So I hope I've given you some insight. I've been as honest as I can. I really do not want to sell you either of these cameras. Do bear in mind that whenever people say that they are unbiased or that they're completely honest, take that with a pinch of salt because a lot of people aren't. Which one would I choose? Personally, it is really quite hard to decide. If I had the 1-inch module of the One R, I would choose this. I would choose the 360 and 1-inch version of this rather than the 360 and 4K version. If I was just choosing a 360 camera, if I just wanted it for 360, I would probably actually go for the GoPro Max because of that just slightly more user-friendly design, and I think the video quality is slightly better. I do think the app of the One R is better than the GoPro Max's app. I think it is probably the best app ever. So maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would choose the... I'm actually finding it quite hard to decide between. I think they're more evenly matched than many people will admit. They both have software issues to deal with, especially on the desktop side when it comes to the GoPro Max. I think both cameras are being updated regularly, and I think for the next at least year, you're going to have some pretty good support and some new features coming out for both cameras. So I'm going to let you decide. I'm not going to bias your opinion with my opinion because I really can't decide. So yeah, guys, that's it. Let me know what you think of both of these cameras. If you want to buy them, if you are interested, then check the description below. You can see where you can do that. There's also some links to more information on these cameras, like written reviews, if you want to check those out. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Which do you prefer? I'm going to do a review of this camera very soon. I've been using it a lot. And yeah, we're going to see really what this thing can do. That's it, guys. Oh, back in focus. So that's it, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.